hunting,
fishing,
cooking,
camping,
conservation,
travel,
gardening,
photography, family.
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 This is the Outdoor Rules Podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Rules Podcast. I am really excited about today's episode for a whole host of reasons. If you've been listening to the podcast way back, more than a year ago now, I think it was episodes 40 and 41, we talked to our dear friend Joe Skorupski in a two-part episode. The first part was mostly about a big Alaska adventure that he went on. And then the second part was about some health challenges that Joe had been having and that were really fresh at the time. So Joe Skorupski's back on today. Say hi, Joe.
Hello.
Thanks for coming back, Joe.
Absolutely.
Thanks for making it another year.
Yeah, it's good to be alive.
we're very glad for that. And in the Alaska part of that episode, Joe, I really encourage everybody to go back and listen to both the episodes because they're some of the best podcast episodes we've made. But in the Alaska part of the episode, Joe talked about a huge caribou and moose hunting adventure that he and two friends did. And so one of those friends is Derrick Miller. Derrick's on here today. Welcome to the podcast, Derrick.
Thanks, Mike. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you. The other guy that was with you was Brian Ferguson. He's not on, but we're gonna cover a whole lot of ground today, and I'll tell you why right at the top. I think I probably said this in the episode that Joe and I did together last year, but I know some people in the Western big game hunting world that I really just consider to be next level hunters. Like I always tell people, I'm not a good Western big game hunter. I'm not a good hunter, period. I spend a lot of time doing it. I get a lot of practice, but I'm not very good at it. And I mean that. And I mean it in part because of guys like you two. I mean, Joe and Derrick, you guys are both incredibly accomplished Western big game hunters. In a way that I think most people can only ever hope to achieve. And Derrick, give us a little bit of your just biography, how you came into Western big game hunting, where you come from, all of that stuff.
Okay. Well, I grew up right outside Akron, Ohio, and not a really serious hunting family. My dad went deer hunting more for the camp atmosphere, for a week each season, but he had subscriptions to Outdoor Life and Field and Stream, and some of my earliest memories are smuggling a flashlight and those magazines into my bedroom past bedtime and just going through the articles. And I remember my dad always dreamed of going on a mule deer hunt out west, and I remember a particular uh, issue of Outdoor Life with a mule deer jumping on the cover, and I'm sure I can go back and find that. But that just kind of attracted me to Western hunting. I wanted to hunt elk. I wanted to hunt mule deer, even if he ended up not pursuing those interests. And then as I got older, 10, 11, I started trapping. 12, 13, was introduced to hunting. Quickly just fell in love with all aspects of it, not just the deer hunting, but also the small game. And around that time, my grandparents loaded me up and brought me out west. So I saw Montana and Wyoming for the first time. And at 13, I said, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to graduate, and I'm going to come west, and I'm going to live in one of these two states. And that's exactly what I did. I went to a small college in Ohio called the College of Worcester, got a degree in biology, Graduated, and 3 days after graduation, I was starting with a Western wildlife management agency, and that's kind of where I've been ever since. And that's provided those opportunities to hunt mule deer, to hunt um, elk, and then really just expand into sheep hunts, moose hunts, goat hunts, just opportunities going with friends.
Yeah, and you currently live in Great Falls, Montana, right?
I do.
Which is not a bad place to be. Kind of Great Falls is kind of what, central Montana, slightly west central Montana.
I'd say we consider ourselves Central Montana.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And Joe and Derek and I, we talked briefly one time on an episode with Caitlin's dad, with Tim. We shared a bird hunting adventure near Lewistown, Montana, which, Derek, you used to live there before Great Falls, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we pheasant hunted there together one year during what was definitely the worst blizzard that I've ever tried to upland bird hunt in.
I- if success was judged in the amount of birds we killed that weekend, we were unsuccessful, but I think we all had a great time.
I definitely had a great time. It was it was a lot of work to try to plow through drifted snow to find the handful of birds we got, but we sure had fun doing it. So, back to the Alaska trip, Joe, just recap that real quick, because I just want to talk about it quickly. The 5-minute version of that trip and how you guys did it.
Yeah, so that was a 2023, and it was a planned 10-day hunt in outside of Fairbanks to do a fly-in, float-out caribou moose combo. And yeah, as you kind of alluded to, it was a grand adventure. Kind of checked all the boxes of good, bad, and ugly, and slightly scary at moments. But we had great success. We hit the migration perfect for caribou and shot 3 amazing caribou. And Brian ended up killing a fantastic moose as well. It was. I think I described it in the last podcast as one of the most challenging adventures I've ever been on, but one of the most rewarding for sure. It was unpredictable a lot of times, and delays on the front end, delays on the back end, and yeah, it's an experience I'll never forget, and look forward to going back next fall.
Yeah, it was the kind of thing where you guys, if I get this wrong, just tell me, but you guys paid somebody to help with logistics and gear, but the hunting itself was self-guided, right?
Yeah, so it basically was a hunt plan. So we rented boats, it paid for more or less like the knowledge of the area and the logistical things that you can't really take care of. You can take care of it from far away, but it definitely maximized the way that we viewed it is we could have gone up and done a 100% DIY hunt and planned it all from front to back. And we know lots of people that have done that. I think Derek knows more than I do, but the opportunity of success and the quality of those hunts can be pretty hit or miss. I have friends that, they paid a fraction less to get flown into a place, and, it's your anticipation is to be remote in Alaska, and those planes can go anywhere
Yeah.
for the most part. And, my one friend, it was like there was they dropped someone 200 yards away from him, and he was, middle of nowhere, but not kind of thing. So we really opted for trying to find someone that was kind of a little higher level, a little smaller operation, higher focus of a quality experience more than anything. Not really focusing on trophy quality, but just we wanted to not see anybody, which we didn't. We had one plane fly over us, I think, Derek, some scalper that was up there. Tried to, I think he was anticipating flying in where we did, and that was really it. We heard plane traffic every day, but it wasn't. It was very remote. It's the exact experience that I think most people want when they go into those hunts, and we got it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean the episode really does, like you say, it sort of checks all the boxes from perilous situations to hunting success to questioning whether you're actually going to get out of there.
Yeah.
Um, I know that one of the stories you told a little bit of, Derek, you hurt your back like right almost at the beginning of that, right?
Yeah. Joe and Brian were actually on the plane on the Cessna heading into the bush, and I was supposed to take a little commuter flight to a closer strip, and then was going to be picked up there. So that left me to load all the gear, and of course I was in a hurry and just grabbed and twisted with these big rafts that we used, and 100 pounds twisting wrong, just immediately felt a little tinge, and yeah, quickly realized that I wasn't moving very fast or at
Oh
all.
man. And you dealt with that the entire hunt then.
For most of it, these guys, I basically sent them an in-reach message that I'd hurt my back. They didn't recognize the severity. And the pilot and I discussed it, and I said, I need to go and I need to talk to these guys, but I need to see if they're willing to kind of help me along through this hunt because I don't want to hinder their pursuit. This is our dream. We all have a significant investment. Um, so we got there. I told, kind of laid it out. Guys said, no, we want you here. And they kind of set the tent up real close to where we landed on the lake. And they had a little glassy knob, a couple 100 yards away, I think. And we started to walk there, and I made it 20 yards and turned around. And I think that's when they recognized how serious it was. So I spent 2 days basically sitting outside the tent. That's as far as I could move. I couldn't carry anything. I couldn't hunt. But by resting it gradually, it got better to where I was a little bit more mobile. Joe and Brian actually loaded me up in the raft, and I just laid there, and we floated a few miles down a creek to the main river. Um, and yeah, gradually I recovered to where I was able to hike, maybe a mile and harvest a caribou bull. These guys carried most of the weight. And then later on in the hunt, when we harvested the moose, it was actually kind of perfect because I could sit there and work on cutting them up into manageable pieces while Joe and Brian transported the meat to the raft.
Yeah, it's like I said, folks really ought to go back and listen to that episode. But I am curious, Derek. Is there anything that you remember about it that Joe got wrong? And remember that the best podcasts are made out of people arguing about stuff. So
What he got wrong, what he got wrong, I feel like is pretty insignificant. That's just
ah,
chronological
dang it.
stuff, day to day. I will say he seemed to glass over this opportunity that he had, or sorry, gloss over this opportunity that he had at a bull moose. Um,
Yeah.
I think that was around day 4 or 5. I think 4. I was still in pretty rough shape. He had done something that I think he now realizes is very foolish and try to chase after a caribou bull, and failed. I forget how far. Let's say 6 miles round trip in the tundra. That is a serious workout. It isn't like 6 miles down here in the lower 48.
Yeah.
So in my state, I had basically climbed up on this little knob from camp and worked this bull all day. We had worked him the day before, and he traveled probably 2 miles out to eventually coming within 300 yards of us. And Joe opted to pass that bull. I will say it's really easy to kind of sit back here and judge and say, oh, yeah, that bull's 50 inches. That bull's 50 inches, legal, not legal. Um, so in that situation, we were going back and forth. We were confident that it was legal. Now that Joe has passed it and we're back and we show photos of that bull, um, basically everyone with experience Alaska moose hunting says that we're silly. Joe should have never passed that bull, and he was at least 55 inches. So I don't think that was covered in detail in that
Yeah.
podcast, was it, Joe?
No, I more or less covered why I passed it. Yeah, and I think it was day two.
Yeah, see, this is where we can argue.
Because I thought Brian shot his the first day we could hunt, his caribou. And then I chased that caribou across the river, exhausted myself, got wet, and then you guys were already calling that bull in. It was that day, wasn't it?
No, it was not.
Okay, so
No. So Brian's day two or three, we moved from the lake down to our second campsite. That's when you guys floated me down, which I think was day
that's
three.
right.
Yep. So day three, we spotted that bull, called to him, and were impressed that he could hear us from 2 miles away. You could actually see his reaction in the spotting scope.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
then day four is when, day three, we called to him 2 miles away. Morning of day four, we woke up and he was within a mile, and he bedded in the river bottom, and then we worked him in that evening.
And and
Yeah.
for anybody that's not quite following this, for in the area that you were hunting in Alaska, for a bull moose to be legal, they have to be 50 inches wide, a 50-inch antler spread. And you got to judge that in the field. There's a couple other ways that they can be legal, but I mean, it really is. It's a whole different thing to look at pictures and watch videos and learn to judge them, and be like, oh, I'm confident that I can tell. It's a whole different thing when you're the one behind the gun and you're going to pull the trigger, and make a decision that can have potentially serious, consequences for you. I mean, you end up having to finish out the hunt knowing that you've harvested this illegal moose, and then, go and turn it in and suffer the legal ramifications of that when you get back. That's not like, it's not something that you can take lightly, or at least that anybody should take lightly. And that it's not dissimilar to some other types of hunting. Like there in Montana, we talked to Mike and Allison Himmelspach, our friends that live there in Paradise Valley, and have both harvested sheep in that unlimited sheep hunt a while back. And that's the same thing. I think those sheep have to be 3/4 curl. Is that right, Derek?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to judge that, and you got to, be confident enough in your judgment to make a decision that's going to actually have consequences. So kind of serious business when you're in that situation. So you guys obviously survived the Alaska adventure and made it back out of there. Anything else to say about that before we sort of leave that topic?
I'm excited for next year. I hope
Yeah.
to go into it with a strong back.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do different? Like, what'll be different about next year's trip, or your plan, or your approach, or what you think you'll do?
We debated going to a totally different river or a totally different area of Alaska, and then ultimately we decided to go back and do the exact same hunt over again. Um, so I think we're just a little bit more confident in our game plan. Where we're going to focus for caribou, where we're going to focus for moose, logistically, some ways of potentially mobilizing meat midway through the hunt. Because that was extremely challenging just dealing with the quantity of meat associated with a moose day after day after day, and that leads to an additional, at least for me, additional level of stress, because once that animal's down, we're just prioritizing meat care for both
Hmm.
caribou and moose. So yeah, I don't know. I think we just have like a little bit more confidence going into this next hunt. Do you have anything to add, Joe?
Yeah, I think there's a couple must-haves that we didn't have. One is an oar frame. That's a must. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, 100%.
The other is life jackets. I would like to have a life jacket this
That
time.
seems like a good idea.
We did not have life jackets,
Yeah.
so
Those are very good points.
The other is how we approach the hunt, right? I think that's where you're getting at, Derek, right? Just that detail of, we float this, we're at a lake, and then we float all the way down. I still can't remember the miles. Call it 20 miles to the confluence of the main river. And I think in the last one I described, like we had like multiple camps that we had kind of selected on just Google Earth or Onyx. And I think what we kind of decided was that there's a really prime area that's where Brian shot his bull, of like try to set up in a location for a longer duration of time. Like we were trying to like, I don't think we moved until day 5, right, Derek? And we felt like we had very little time to moose hunt. So instead of setting
Yeah,
up that mid camp, like if the same scenario happened and we did 5 days, I would probably prioritize that lower section more than that middle section of the river. So just push through, go the full distance, and spend multiple nights in one spot to try to find those bulls that are lower that really don't ever get hunted. It was just more prime moose habitat, I think. I would like to
yeah,
go
it's
for two
just
more days, but I don't think that's going to happen.
yeah, yeah, it's just that benefit of having knowledge in the area, like on the ground knowledge now.
Right. And I what I said about you guys being great Western big game hunters at the top, I think for folks listening, maybe you're starting to get a sense that these guys are you guys are smart hunters, and that's a big part of it. You're good hunters, period. But the the level of effort that you guys put into it is really, I think, what sets you apart. And whether you're talking about this Alaska hunting or the stuff you guys do, I mean, Joe, I've always been so impressed just by your tenacity and willingness to walk another 5 miles to get to something great. And I think that's just such a huge part of what it takes. And boy, to do something like what you guys are doing in Alaska, I've said it before, but that would be a dream hunt for me, and I'd love to do it. I don't know that I'm physically capable of it anymore. Like that is ridiculously physically demanding kind of hunting.
We'll see if we are. It's
Well,
4 years later. There's some things that have changed.
well, let's that great segue, Joe. Let's
Yeah.
transition to that. So, in the second of those two episodes, what we really got into was what you had going on uh a year ago, May of it was May of 2025, right? That you had a liver transplant.
Yep. The 22nd.
Yeah. And you went through some dicey months there, right?
Yeah, there were some questionable periods of, I kind of describe it at this point of, I got the opportunity to get a disease that I thought I was beating, and a clot in my liver that was caused by a disease, and thought I was winning that battle and going to keep my liver, which I forget it doesn't matter, the statistics on who gets a transplant from that, but it's fairly low. Like, I like to think I have the odds in my favor for my health, but it didn't play out that way. And I had the chance to experience that and die quickly, unfortunately, or almost die quickly with a life flight and pretty close call of, just pretty serious moment. And then waited for a liver for almost 5 months. And so I crashed in May, had to get life, or I'm sorry, I was diagnosed with this in 2 years ago, a month ago. So in July of 2024, got life flighted in January 2025, got my transplant, and just slowly deteriorated until May 22nd. So I was notified on May 21 that they had a liver, and yeah, it was a journey. I don't want to say I don't regret it at this point. It's changed a lot in my life, and good and bad. Obviously, health wise, it's scary, but that's just kind of life, I think, in a lot of ways. But it's given me a really profound perspective on life as well. So
Yeah, I mean, you had us pretty worried there a couple times, Joe. Where it was, it's,
yeah,
anytime I talk to Joe that he's not like 100% optimistic, it scares me because I think that's the other thing about you is you're an optimistic guy, including in times and situations not related to your liver, but just in times and situations where I'm like, I don't think Joe has any right to be optimistic about this, and you always are, which is a great thing about you. It makes you a great friend, but also makes it really worrisome when you don't sound optimistic about things. So, you know,
yeah. And there's moments there of like when I got life flighted, I was on the front end of it. I was like, it's just I'll be fine. They just need to get me down to Denver. It's not a big deal. And then it really kicked in pretty heavy when I was there, and they were rattling off the scenario of my condition that I was in, and through that 5 months of then waiting for my transplant, there was certainly moments where I doubted whether I would survive or not, and it's kind of the one thing that it's been a struggle of rebalancing yourself mentally with that. Is optimistic is a good way to put my personality of, but I got really comfortable with more or less lying to myself and everybody of, you guys would call all the time and be like, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing good. I was
yeah,
never, it was, and transitioning away from that has been a really hard struggle that I've had of just being honest about things. Like I more or less became a chronic liar of this scenario that I was in. And my doctors have yelled at me a couple of times, if not, of like, you need to tell us what's going on instead of just being like, oh, I'll be fine. I'll just need to work through this. There's no working through, and waiting on things. So
yeah,
that's been a hard personality trait recognition that it's hard to deal with some of those things and recognize it. But looking back, it's really obvious that I was in much worse condition. I didn't say the word die prior to my transplant, but yeah, it was some close calls, especially, post surgery. I don't know how much, I can't remember what I described, but there was, I mean, she came out of surgery and it was way more significant than my condition than they anticipated. I think because I wasn't completely honest with them of how I
hmm,
was feeling. I mean, she more or less told Aaron like he might have had 2 weeks left
man,
when surgery happened. They couldn't find a hepatic vein. She's like, I'm not really sure how, he was functioning, and I might have still been driving prior to that and showing up to work for a couple hours a day. So I think I saw Derrick and Rebecca. That's when looking back, I really kind of realized how poor I was. They were there on the 18th, I believe. It was that weekend before my transplant, and it was kind of wild. Like they were kind of my good luck charm of getting a liver. They showed up the one time, and I literally got a call for a dry run to come see us. So we literally walked. They walked in the door. We walked out the door to go fly to Denver, and they watched the kids for us. And unfortunately, I didn't get a liver on that run. And then it was almost the same exact time. Saw them on the 18th, and I was too physically sick to go for a drive with Derek and my son into Yellowstone to look for grizzly bears. And it's like that's when I knew I was in pretty rough shape. It was just a couple of days before my transplant. So
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I don't want to tell the story as a cautionary tale, but there's it's hard not in some ways to look at it that way because I mean, you literally went from like running ultra marathons, right? You were doing like crazy long distance 50-mile plus runs, right?
yeah, I was still running 20 to 40 miles a week,
Yeah.
right leading up to when I was hospitalized in 24.
Yeah.
I had a race that weekend. I had a race planned in Helena,
Yeah.
that I was hospitalized.
Yeah.
So
So
it
I
turned
mean,
quick.
it was a cliff. It wasn't. I don't. I think I always think about liver stuff. Like most of the time, it's a slow progression into you know whatever liver failure, regardless of the situation, and or that at least that's what's in my head. And that was not what happened to you at all. You went from like you know running 20 to 40 miles a week to you know needing to be flown to Denver.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, the good news is that you did get a transplant, and you're you're bouncing back, right?
Yeah. No, I'm generally doing really good. I could go into all the negative aspects of how this has changed my life, of side effects to moments when I just need a break, and I struggle with a lot of things. The mental journey has been pretty pretty significant, more than some of the physical aspects of it. And I think that's partially my personality. I have high expectations for myself, if you want to say it, of just what I should or shouldn't be able to do. And there's moments of when they kind of said, you have a new body at this stage. Your liver does over 2,000 processes in your body. It's like the most important organ that you have. And they're like, you're gonna have a different body. You're gonna have to readjust your life. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Like, I'm not really interested in that. And I've had to make some minor changes for sure. Uh, but on the positive side of things, like I'm doing everything that I possibly want to do. Like,
Yeah.
really, I'm working full time. I've been working full time since, I would say, came back part time in the front end of 3 months post surgery. So I came back in September. I was still pretty sick during that time period, and I came down with a virus that was pretty aggressive, that I had to go back to Denver once. Other than that, I haven't had any significant setbacks, and that's pretty amazing. They told me flat out, like, you will be hospitalized again for a liver rejection event, and I haven't
Hmm.
been. My liver enzymes have been great. Like, things are really good. And like I said, I could focus on the little negative things, but I mean, I'm hiking 25, 30 miles a week at work. I'm working like 40, 50 hours in the field. Knock on wood, I haven't had any bad episodes of getting sick or anything like that. I harvested the biggest bull I ever harvested last fall. That
Yeah.
was with my son, first hunt that he went on, which was fantastic. It was just, I got lucky and got a really special tag in the area, and it's an old man hunt in a lot of ways, and it was a great opportunity to recover and spend significant time with my son and friends, and kind of mentally recover from that. And uh, yeah, and it's been, I hate to complain, because I'm doing everything that I want to do. I hike, hunt, fish. I shot a bunch of birds last fall. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty good. The only downfall is I can't eat a super rare steak, and I can't drink beer, which I don't really care. There's worse things in the world. So
Yeah. Well, we're we're sure glad you're here.
yeah,
Eh,
it's good to be functional, and yeah, being able to be with my family and friends. And yeah, it's been good.
It's actually been really fun for me because my nephew Hunter, who's been on here a time or two, is working with Joe this summer, and he called me the other week and complained about how fast Joe was hiking in the mountains. And he's going to listen to this and be mad at me about it, but that's okay. I don't care. And I was like, no, that sounds right. I always complain about how fast Joe hiked in the mountains too.
I want
So
to highlight that he just turned 22.
yeah,
That's
exactly. Right.
so,
Not quite half your age, but in the right ballpark. And he's got a factory original liver. So I
yep.
think you're doing pretty great, Joe.
Yeah, it's all perspective. I
Yeah.
can do everything I want to do, and I mean, I got a hunt of a lifetime planned for next fall with those guys again, repeating our Alaska hunt. I've got, yeah, just
Well,
living
yeah,
life
that's
to the
I mean,
fullest.
that's sort of one of the other threads I want to follow here is outside of the Alaska thing that you have planned for next year. You've got something awesome this year, right?
I do. Yeah, I it was a interesting timeline of events. I was literally packing up on May 21st. It was uh, a year ago. Prior, it was when I was called to be told I had a liver available for a transplant, and yeah, I was packing up. Didn't wasn't paying attention. We were getting ready to drive to Denver for my 1 year appointment post surgery, and I got a couple texts from friends. They're like, "Dude, you drew a sheep tag," and I was like, "No, I didn't. There's no way." And yeah, I at 8 o'clock in the morning, I was looked up my draws and I drew the best unit in the state right now.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, it was a gift from the universe for sure.
Yeah. If you believe in karma at all, I think the good karma came back around. So you drew a bighorn sheep tag somewhere in the Cody area there. I don't if you don't want to say what unit or whatever, that's fine. But
Yeah, it's a once in a lifetime unit. I mean, it's they all are at this stage. So it used to be a waiting period in Wyoming, and now it transitioned to you draw once and that's it. If you don't
mhm,
harvest, it doesn't matter. And yeah, I had the option. I could have probably given the tag back. I have justification to do it and wait another year. And I've kind of I've always had that kind of outlook on the things that you want to do now, you should do now. And some people are like, man, you should really wait a year and be fully recovered and I'll have more time off and those types of things. Because I don't have a ton of time from, I burned a lot of it and, or all of it. But I've been rebuilding that and I'm like, I'm not waiting. I just turned 40. I gonna do this now and it's gonna be an adventure. And if I kill a ram, I kill a ram. If I don't, I don't. And that's totally fine. I want to do the experience now. Next year might not be here, kind of thing, and things might be different. So, plus we're
yeah,
going to Alaska, so I'm not.
right,
It kind of worked out perfect, really, in a lot of ways. So yeah, it's right in the Absarokas, right outside of Cody. It's so some of the trailheads are as close as 25 minutes to go look for sheep, and I think the furthest I have to drive is hour and a half, which is where we'll actually be going on the first stint of the hunt.
yeah.
So yeah, it's been fun. I've been doing a lot of e-scouting and looking online and pouring through maps and talking to. I have a couple great friends that are some outfitters in the area and kind of bouncing things off of them. And that's the one luxury of hunting. You guys kind of described this in New Mexico where people are really eager to share
Hmm.
information when you don't get to hunt these tags ever again.
Right.
And like drawing a sheep tag is a pretty coveted thing, and so people have been pretty open on sharing. And I have some of the old time biologists have gone on. The one he's harvested 3 sheep in this unit himself, or 2 in this unit himself, and 3 with other people. And so yeah, I've poured through and kind of stitched together the network of information that I've come up with and kind of set some goals for what I want for the hunt. And yeah, we're going to be heading in the 11th of September. So
And Derek, you're going?
I am. Yeah. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I can't imagine. How big a crew are you gonna take in there?
it'll be Derek and Brian, Ferguson, and then my brother's going to fly in from Pennsylvania.
Nice. Yeah, I think
So
that's one of the funny things about, about these kinds of tags is like everybody wants to go, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and
it's hard. If
and
I could have more people there, I would.
no, I
But
yeah.
it's like it's one of those things that like four is kind of perfect because it's going to be a backpack hunt. I'm not using stock, and there's some advantages and disadvantages as you can imagine of just getting in there. But 4 is kind of a good number. That's the one thing like presence. I want to keep a fairly low presence in some of these drainages just to
Hmm.
not blow the sheep out.
Right.
So my
Yeah, and
brother's kind
I
of a
mean you
loud
got to get
talker.
4 people that are, similarly physically able. or, somebody like me gets a tag, I just find three other people that are in much better shape than I am, which isn't very hard to do. But for you guys, you're a lot more limited on the folks that can really do, are going to maintain the physical side of it and the mental toughness to do that level of work day in and day out until you find a sheep. So what's what's the plan? Like, you're going to backpack way in, or are you going to sort of, keep moving farther and farther in? You got that nailed down, or are you still working on it based on scouting?
I think I have a general plan nailed down at this stage. I've unfortunately I haven't been able to scout as much as I wanted to. July was we got some insane monsoons, some flash flooding, so most of those weekends were kind of shot. So I didn't quite get in there as many times. I've done two trips, and the first one was very humbling on what expectations were. 3 miles in that country is very different than 3 miles really anywhere hunting that I've experienced. So I have this general area that I selected of like I want to try to focus, and that's one of the main goals that I have is, there's 25 tags that are given in this unit, which is a pretty high number.
Yeah, that's a lot of
And
tags.
yeah, and at first when I was like, man, that's gonna be like we're gonna be like bumping into each other like crazy. And now that I've been scouting, like there's a lot of sheep in this unit. It's pretty amazing. And so for my first goal, I was like, I want to stay away from people, and I'd really like to hunt areas that don't get hit that hard or don't get hunted at all. And there are places like that that exist. One, because of most people do use stock, and you can only take stock in certain locations. And the other is that our trail network has been deteriorating for a number of years. The Absarokas are wild country in the regard of they're kind of old old in the sense of or new in the sense of that they're still really volatile. They're
Hmm.
very unstable habitats where glacial recession, it's like the last places where glaciers existed. There's old remnants of glaciers in Sunlight Creek, where one of the places that we have the option to hunt. And we get rain and it torches some of that country.
Hmm.
There was a flash flood that came through and just nuked half of the drainage and all the trails. And that trail rebuilding and is a lot. It's the Forest Service does the best they can, but a lot of it's done by the outfitters and people that are just in that country, and they have not been able to keep up with it.
Yeah.
So on one hand, it makes it challenging to get in country, but on the other, it kind of creates these areas where
It makes
people
it
really can't
challenging
get.
to get in there. So if you're
Yeah.
willing to do the work.
Yep. So I went into the one twice, this kind of same area. I went on the flanks of it the first trip. It was not an extremely long hike. It was 6 miles, and I chose a route that I regret today because it was harder than I thought. And so 6 miles and like 4,200 feet of climbing.
Oh
That's
man.
kind of the standard. And I'm approaching it. It's kind of a different way to like view it of terms of you can hike that 4,200 feet over 12 miles, or you can do it in a really short duration, depending on where you want to access it from.
Hmm.
So I chose the short route, 6 miles, 4,200 feet, and it took me 7 hours to do it. And I don't hike slow, like
Right.
generally speaking. And I got up there and I was like, this took me all day. This is really hard. I'm really humbled. And I think when I got out, I said called Derrick and I was like, we might not kill a sheep. Like this is way harder than I thought, and that's fine, but this is gonna be this is gonna be way more challenging than I think I'm anticipating or what I would hope for. But the thing is we have 10 days, so it's like take all day to hike in. I This is where my having good partners on a hunt I think is really critical. I'm notoriously just want to run in there as fast as I can. I've kind of slowed down with that approach a little bit. Derek is much more slower, methodical of covering country and more patient of a hunter than I am. So and Brian is too in a lot of ways, and so having good partners that are on that hunt that can help with these challenges that you're going to come across, I think is really important. When we're doing the knife edges, I'll be the one pushing people up the hill and Derrick will be fine. But in those moments, that's the fun dynamic of going on these hunts of just personalities and meshing together and making good decisions and having fun and success. So yeah, so that's kind of the area that I've chose. I selected a spot on the map that I thought was passable, could be passable. Speaking to outfitters, they don't go in there. They can't get in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much sheep harvest that occurs in there, and I pushed into that pass in a day hunt or a day scouting trip, and was able to climb that 4,200 feet up. It took me 8 hours. I did it, but that was only over 5 miles,
Hmm.
and then I came out. But it was a
That's
pretty
a different
magical moment
place.
of what's that?
You scouted 2 places. That's a different place, you mean?
A little bit different, yeah, just
Yeah.
further west into more of that heart of that country that's more hard to access. And yeah, I pushed up on top and I was there for all of 2 minutes and spotted a band of rams. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is the boxes are checked. There's no one hunting in here and there's rams. And I would much rather look at rams with a rifle in my hand than through
Yeah.
binoculars. So
Did you see a ram that you think you'd take?
I think so. I saw a ram that was Absaroka rams, they're not Montana by any means. Like a 180-inch ram in Wyoming is a really, really big ram.
Well, a 180-inch ram anywhere is a big ram.
Yeah, and so like maybe one a year gets shot in this area, maybe. So that would be like I think just perspective of a hunt going into it, and so most of the mature rams that are 8 years old are right around like 155 to 165, as I would say is kind of that slice of that pie for what most is harvested. They just don't have the mass or the length that other rams do, and this guy he looked full curl, and he was heavy and he flared, so kind of checked all those boxes of what I would want out of a ram. So yeah, I think there's at least one there.
Yeah.
I didn't get a look at all of them. I didn't want to bump them out of there. Just kind of leave them alone. They were in a really killable spot. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting.
Derrick, what's your perspective on all this? What's the hardest part of the hunt going to be?
Oh, the heights. I'm terrified of climbing razor edge mountains and scree, but I would never pass up the opportunity to go. And if there's one thing that'll get me through those cliffs, it's hunting. I'm certainly not going to go up there just go for a hike.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's probably what's going to be most challenging for me to get through.
Derrick, I tell people all the time there's a real difference between the fear of heights and a healthy respect for gravity.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't fly very well. And even if I lost a bunch of weight, I still don't think I would fly very well. So yeah, we get into some, like when we Barbary sheep hunt down in the far southeast part of New Mexico in the Broke Off Mountains. I've looked at some rams where I'm like, no, like I think we could kill that one, but I'm not going to try to get to him. Like, no way, too steep. Don't need to fall off a mountain into a canyon.
Well, and that's one thing that Joe mentioned, just kind of the mental game associated, especially with sheep and goat hunting, is a lot of times finding that ram or that billy's the easy part. Then it's
Hmm.
waiting for it to get into a spot where you can actually harvest and recover it.
Definitely, the recovery I think is a part that most, like, it's the last thing you kind of think about, or at least when you conceptualize these hunts, it's hard to think about the fact like, oh, I might see something and I might have the opportunity to take it, but it could end up in a place where where I can't recover it. And you don't run into that too much, obviously, in Pennsylvania or Ohio, but you start talking about, mountain hunting for sheep or for goats, it really comes into play. So, well, I mean, Joe, we're sure pulling for you. I can't believe you got a sheep tag. I may have called you a few names when I found out that you got a sheep tag this year, but I genuinely I can't think of anybody that I'm happier to have drawn one this year. You deserve it, man.
I appreciate it. It's I really want to enjoy it for what it is, and it's an opportunity. Like I think Derek said, like I've lived here for over 10 years in Cody, and I've never been in these drainages, and I
Mm-hmm.
might never go back. It was like a good opportunity, but this is just a neat chance to go and explore some pretty incredible country that very few people go to. That's an hour from my house, and spend it with some of the people I love the most. And I think it's just gonna be a great time in the mountains and a really good adventure. So
Yeah. And I think about why we hunt, and this just strikes me as what you just said strikes me as one of those reasons. Like it's a pretext to get into places that you would never otherwise see. It's a pretext to have this experience that you wouldn't otherwise have. And uh, I mean, yeah, you're gonna try to harvest a sheep, but whether that happens or not, you're gonna come out of that with a bunch of stories, with a big adventure under your belt. And it's just hard to discount that aspect of the whole thing.
yeah, yeah.
And
And it's gonna be. I mean, there's a lot of grizzly bears up there too. That's the other part. That's gonna be the fun challenge of not trying to get eaten in those moments. So
yeah, there are a lot of grizzly bears in that country.
yeah, I'm hoping that it's a weird year. They're kind of aggressive already, and the berry crop is horribly bad. And moth sites were kind of okay, and I'm hoping they move down out of country a little bit because I think the first trip we did, I saw four, and then I saw one when I was solo doing that
Hmm.
last day hike, and yeah, it's a different element when you're pushing through their territory.
Yeah, for sure. And Derek, you're also helping a buddy in Montana scout for mountain goats right now, right?
I am. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's likely the two hunts will overlap, so I'm prioritizing Joe's sheep hunt, and my friend up here understands that. But last weekend, I got the opportunity to go and train for the sheep hunt and found a really nice billy. So pretty
Nice.
excited for him to get in there for opener.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty good fall. Derek, you got anything else planned Montana wise? Anything special?
I have a young bird dog. He's 9 months right now, and I'm just really excited for bird hunting. Neither my wife or I really drew any great tags. We have some doe tags in Montana. I have a sandhill crane tag. Um, but yeah, really just excited to train and work that young dog.
Yeah. Yeah, you had a really great bird dog that you lost. Uh, was that a year and a half ago?
Yeah, a little bit over a year. Yeah, it would have been June 25.
Yeah. Man, they break your heart, don't they?
Uh, Definitely do.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll have to what I'd obviously like to do on all of this is I'd like to get back together maybe mid fall when the sheep hunt and maybe the goat hunt are under your belts and talk again about how it all went. I'm really looking forward to that. And
Definitely.
bird hunting. I'd love for the three of us to get together and bird hunt again. That's a passion I think that we all share there for sure. Hey everybody, it's Mike. We are going to leave it there for this week. I hope that you will join us again next week. We get into sort of a whole new topic and we hear a lot more from Derek about some really unique hunting experiences that he has had in his life. I first of all want to say thanks to Joe and Derek for joining me for the episode. It's Joe's story is just so amazing to me, and I'm really wishing him the best of luck on his upcoming sheep hunt. And Derek is a amazingly interesting guy, and I'm looking forward to next week's episode where we spend quite a lot more time talking to him as well. So thanks everybody out there for listening. As always, you can find all of our content on the website, www.outdoorrules.com. Find us on social media at Outdoor Rules on Instagram or over on Facebook. Biggest thing you can do, thing that we like the most, is if you send us an email, outdoorrules@gmail.com. We love to hear from you, episode ideas or anything else that you want to talk with us about. Shoot us an email there. So thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week.
Hunting and fishing, the great outdoors, mixing history, laughter, love, and folklore, creating memories with family and friends. These are the trophies that matter in the end. Outdoor Rules.